Now that you've heard some of these tips on how you can begin to overcome fears of investing, I wanted to invite you also to one of our newest master classes we're offering to dive deeper into this topic. It's an amazing way to get more support and guidance on how to really dig in deeper and overcome those fears, because this is truly the number one thing we see getting in the way for people with investing. It's not learning how to invest or the logistics of it, learning the language, learning the laws, any of that, the taxes. The hardest part people struggle with that we see in our community with investing is fear and overcoming those fears. So that's why we're doing this master class, really diving deep on that topic and working through those fears. We'd love to have you part of it. I will put the link for how to join in the show notes and hope it can be of service for you. Thanks and take care. Next up, let's clear up another thing. What is investing, right? Because this is a term people use differently. And I like to make it really clear what I'm talking about here, right? So there's multiple different types of investing. Generally, investing is anything where like your money's growing, right? You're participating in this stream of expansion and growth where you can build wealth. And there's lots of ways to do that. Tonight, we're specifically focusing on investing in the stock market as a form of investing. So that's one type. But there's also things like investing in real estate, investing in a business, whether it's your own business or someone else's business, right? There's a lot of options here. Generally, I want to know if you look at wealthy Americans historically in the US, millionaires, and so most of them have done a combination of these three things, right? They're doing investing in the stock market, they're buying properties, and they're owning businesses or investing in other businesses. So we really want to focus on that in this idea of building wealth, of how can we participate in each of these three things to ride that wave of wealth building. And really the worst way to build wealth is this mindset of not making decisions, of not thinking and acting like the wealthy. And over the years, being a financial counselor, I've studied wealthy people a lot, and trying to get all the lessons so I can help this community. And one of the things that's really stood out to me consistently with millionaires and wealthy people is that they make decisions quickly. And so they understand that the two resources in life are time and money. And time is the only resource we'll never get back, that we can never have more of. Money, we can always get more, right? If we lose our money, we can go make more, right? We can go recover from that. We can never get our time back. So they understand that very well, that time is the most precious resource. And because of that, they don't waste time making decisions, right? And when they learn about something like this and how they can be growing their wealth, they move quickly, right? And they're willing to experiment. They're willing to have a little bit of failure so that they can learn quicker and learn how to do it and get on the right track of success and wealth building. And so with investing, a lot of people I talk to in this community are, because they don't know a lot about it, because they're the first in their family, because they didn't have parents who were investing when they were growing up. There's a lot of fear, very understandably, right, about investing. And there's a lot of like, let me think about it, let me go back and forth, like, and then nothing ever happens. And then what happens with that is they miss out on years where they could be building wealth, because with investing, truly the way you build wealth is through time. It's through time participating in the market so that you have time for your money to grow. Because, investing is all about, if you do it in a sustainable, smart, responsible way, when you're not trying to like beat the market and have really high risk and gamble with your money, but you're just trying to benefit from the growth rates that happen when you do kind of traditional investing. When you do that, it's literally just about time. Like the earlier you start, the more money you make. And the calculator is going to make that more clear in a moment. So yeah, the worst way to not be building wealth is not making a decision to get started with investing. And here's some things I see a lot for folks who, are trying to figure this out, trying to, just figure it out on their own without really guidance, that aren't really working for folks. So searching constantly on Google and YouTube, like searching at 2 a.m. We actually get a lot of people who will like book free consultations with us. We offer free consults at like 2 a.m. I'll wake up and see these emails coming in from 2 a.m. And they tell me like, I've been searching for years for how to do this, how to invest. You're the first time, we saw anyone who, said they could explain it for immigrants, and they've just been searching and searching and not getting answers. So this is just another way you lose time, right? Being able to figure this stuff out. Then following financial influencers on social media like Instagram and TikTok. This is actually great to do to like start learning about it, but you're not going to actually learn how to do this and get started just by like following people. Like I really see people need structured guidance. They need step-by-step how to get started right away so they don't lose time and they can just get started investing. So a lot of folks are missing out on getting started by just trying to like, sort of passively like learn without actually committing to it and just sort of scrolling here and there. And then finally going through all the personal finance books, blogs, and podcasts. So this is what happened to us. This is what I was doing for years. And I honestly wasted years trying to figure this all out because there wasn't information in these resources that applied to my family having an immigrant husband, and it just often made me more confused and overwhelmed because a lot of things didn't apply to our situation, right? Like there was no one talking about how to budget for immigration lawyers or budget for emergency international travel to visit family abroad or things like that. So what you need to do to get this rolling and not lose time with investing is to actually learn how the money game works in the US and then go play the game. And learning stock market investing specifically of all the types of investing is the easiest and most common way to build passive income and generational wealth in the US. There are those other things I mentioned too, like real estate and business, but those do take more resources and time to get started. Stock market investing, guess how much it costs to get started with investing? $1. You can get started with investing $1. A lot of people think they need a lot of money to get started. You don't. You literally just need $1 to get started. And then, yeah, just go for it. So, okay, now I want to talk about the 3 biggest blocks to getting started with investing. So these are the areas we see people get tripped up, get stuck, where they want to be investing. They get it's important. They understand that this is how they're going to build wealth, but they get blocked for one of these things. So number 1 is inaction, analysis paralysis. This is when they're like, okay, I have to research every possible aspect of investing to fully understand it so that I can feel comfortable doing it. And then they never do it because they're never going to really feel comfortable until they just start trying and applying, what they're learning. Or they kind of get in their head and they, are like have all the fears and doubts come in, like, oh, my abuela told me that investing is like gambling and it's not safe, so I shouldn't do that, even if they know it's actually more unsafe to not be investing because their money is not making money in a bank. If anything, your money in a bank account is very much losing money because of inflation. So inflation is this idea that the value of the dollar decreases over time. So, and it's actually been really high in the past few years. So like, if your money's in a bank account, it's losing value every day. And the only way you can keep up with inflation or even beat inflation is if you're investing your money in one of those 3 ways: stock market, real estate, or business, or combination. That's the only way we can beat inflation and have our money keep growing with time. So yeah, inaction is a big, big problem of just not starting. Block number 2 is scarcity thoughts. So scarcity thoughts are like extremely common. We all have them as humans. Even after years and years of working on my mindset around money, like I still experience this too, for sure. Sometimes it's never going to go away. We're human, but some of us are like living in all scarcity, and scarcity is essentially this idea of there's never enough. I'm never going to be safe financially. Like no matter what I do, something bad could happen. I can lose everything. And this is really common in the immigrant community because a lot of folks have experienced that, or their family members have, or that's why their parents had to flee their home country, right? Like I know personally, my great grandparents were refugees who came to this country fleeing for their lives. right? They arrived at Ellis Island and they had nothing. They were completely poor. They didn't have a dollar to their names. And so that stuff gets passed down. Even though I'm 3 generations down, it gets passed down in the family. So I've had to work on that a lot, and it's just a lot of like fear and anxiety about money and about unknowns with money, which makes investing really hard if you're really living from this place, because there is uncertainty with investing. There are no guarantees, right? There's a saying, there's no reward without risk. So there is some risk involved with investing, but there's also, again, a tremendous amount of risk with not investing, because it is guaranteed your money will lose value in a bank account due to inflation. At least with investing, we know, although in the short term it might go up and down and up and down in the short term with economic trends, in the long term, we know with traditional investing, it's constantly increasing at a rate of 7 to 12% over the past 100 years. So that's like, when I learned that, it changed everything for me, because that's the most kind of reassurance I think we can ever get when it comes with money. Um, and so, yeah, shifting your mindset to think about not only what could I lose, but also like, what are the opportunities? Like I would lose if I don't do this, right? So if I don't invest, what opportunity am I going to lose? What's all the money I could be making? That $1 million plus we saw in the calculator from 45 years of investing, like I'm going to miss out on that, right? Thinking about that instead of, oh, what could I lose with the money I have now if I invest, right? And it's really about not understanding this stuff with inflation and market volatility. Like people just, they don't get, and it's nobody's fault. Like this is not taught in school. And this is why we're so passionate about getting this information out there. We're not taught that it's actually normal and expected in the stock market for it to go up and down in the short term. It's cyclical. It's a cycle, just like the seasons, just like, women with their periods, right? The weather, like things change, right? It's energy moving, and it's normal. But again, when you zoom in the short term, that's when you see that. But the long term is a increasing rate over time that we have seen for over 100 years at 7 to 12%, super high return, right? So getting that's part of the education piece of when you learn this stuff, and this is what we love teaching our students at Immigrant Finance School. When you learn this stuff, then it's a really different situation, because you're more informed, you're more empowered, and when you know better, you do better, right? The third biggest block is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is basically like doubting your worth and believing you can't do something, that you're not good enough to do something, that's not possible for someone like you. And this is something that comes up a lot with folks we talk to in the community who just, can't see themselves as an investor, even if they want to, even if they understand this is how they could be building wealth. They haven't seen people like them investing, right? And so there's this kind of belief underneath it all sometimes of like, well, maybe it's too good to be true, right? Or like, maybe it won't work out for me, or maybe I'm not allowed to do this or something. And that's something we really want to encourage you all to push back on and question, right? And be courageous about, because you can do this. And I can tell you, we've worked with over 150 families who've done it, and it's been scary, and they've had to be brave, right? And almost all of them are the first in their families to be investing. But when you do it and you take this step, you become the leader in your family financially. You change the family going forward for generations. Most of our students, after they get their accounts open with investing and they learn how to do it, then they open accounts for their parents, then they open accounts for their siblings. The whole family dynamic changes going forward, because everybody goes from trading time for money to having passive income start building. So the number one way to be building wealth is just to decide to start investing. And we talked about with wealthy folks, this is something they understand very well, is making decisions quickly, taking action, because time is the number one resource that they'll never get back. And so I'd much rather see folks, like, instead of just over analyzing whether or not to do it, or trying to learn everything for this theoretical time when they're going to feel confident, right, to start, like, just start, get support, get help, right? Like there's lots and lots of people who are here to support and teach with finances, right? It doesn't have to be with us. Like find someone you feel comfortable with who can empower you with this knowledge so that you don't have to lose any more time. So the number one way again to build wealth, ask yourself, do you want to keep losing money, keeping your money in a bank account, right? Not making any interest, right? Losing money to inflation, or do you want to get started investing and building wealth? That's the question we have for you today. We urge you to get started and take this step for yourselves, whatever that looks like, so that you can, contribute to your family's generational wealth building and change how things look in this country. Hey, so for this episode this week, we're going to mix things up a little bit, and I'm actually going to be giving you a clip from a recent training I did that was all about investing. It was a training about how to invest for immigrants, but a lot of the information applies to all people, whether you're an immigrant or not. And I'm specifically including some parts that talk about some of the mindset blocks that we face with getting started investing. The three biggest ones that we see in particular, working with people on their finances and doing financial counseling. So these clips, you'll get to hear me in my like presentation voice, like probably a little bit different than the podcasting voice that I do. And I talk about like first, what is investing? Like what are the different types of investing, big picture, so that we're on the same page, what we're even talking about. And then we get into, some of the issues that people face, right, when they are not investing and what that looks like, how that affects people's lives. And then we are able to go deeper into, what some of the three biggest blocks are to getting started investing. So I hope this is helpful for you to hear about. Again, this is just a clip from the training. So if you find it to be of service for you, if you want to learn more about this topic and investing, you can check out the full training for free at the link in the show notes below. That will give you access to the whole thing. It's about an hour long. A lot of really valuable information in there about getting started with investing. And so I hope this is fun for you to hear a piece of my training, what that looks like. And I look forward to hearing your feedback, hearing what you learned from it, and enjoy.